Oh, right. I think we're talking like about For All Mankind or something. Something about Demolition Man 2 and No Man's Sky on the thing, you know. Come on, really? Damn thing's always out of O2. Hmm? Just 5 more minutes. What? Just 5 more minutes, alright? It's okay. It's okay. It's 5 more minutes. It Yeah, but then I have to but damn. Alright, fine. Let me guess, you want to put the glasses on, put the hat on too? No, and I wasn't planning on doing so until you made mention. Anyway, guys, that is how addicted I am to No Man's Sky. Thoroughly enjoying it after an uninspiring run at Starfield. Nemesis Sabine says that looks better. Glad you agree. So yeah, of course, I wanted to get every last second, milk every second I could for this evening, and I'm excited to talk about it in our video game news segment. But first, we got some pop culture news, of which I am most excited to discuss. And yes, I can pull myself away from No Man's Sky for this. If you know me, you know that my Xbox tag is named after John Spartan, while also... Oh, right. Well...
Hello.
See, I did the joke so incompetently that I was the only one talking the whole time.
All right.
Anyway.
Well,
I know, that sucks, because now no one gets to hear you yelling at me for the first time ever. Anyway, you know what? We'll have to save that first for another broadcast. If you know me, you know that my gamer tag is some, conglomeration of as much as 12 characters could fit in tribute to this particular character. Because, this movie, when I first saw the original Demolition Man, I liked it a lot. I mean, it was funny. People were saying, in the future that LA was going to be a shithole in 1993, and that was pretty straightforward. But who knew that they were going to predict things like Zoom meetings and just a very super sensitive culture that is afraid to even just touch remotely. What else? Taco Bell
And
still
language
has
police.
Huh? Language police, of course. Yeah. Taco Bell still has yet to win the franchise wars, but I still believe in them.
I feel like they definitely have. They are definitely like most people I hear these days, even in like the upper class, when I listen in on their ears. It's like Taco Bell is the one guilty pleasure.
They're all bell heads.
But I don't know. I feel like a lot of these things, unfortunately, are not unique to Demolition Man. Like Ray Bradbury called a lot of that stuff.
True.
Yes. Oh, and of course, shout out to Lord Trinan bringing the pandas to the game. As
Welcome.
Always. Hey, you know what?
And I just mean that more in terms of you brought up the Zoom meetings, and I cannot get over Spaceballs doing the Zoom meetings one office over. And I've done that.
All right. Well, I got some news on this. See, in 2020, Sly had mentioned in an Instagram Q&A that he was interested in doing a sequel to Demolition Man. Well, good news, everyone. It's entered pre-production. It's happening.
That is so dope.
Right? Sandra Bullock is for sure coming back. Sly is coming back. There is a rumor they are getting Wesley Snipes back somehow as well. So the whole
twin
crew
brother, who cares? It's Snipes and Stallone
Clone,
back
who
together.
cares?
Clone, whatever, I don't care.
If we can accept
Exactly.
Brent Spinner in Picard season 3, we can handle this.
Oh, absolutely.
That's it.
I agree.
So it looks like it's happening. It looks like it's going to go through. Sly posted recently that he's bulking back up for the role. So
bulking back up from what? When he was bulked up in Tulsa King?
Getting jacked for the Tulsa King.
Jacked. Get right jacked up.
Exactly.
Yo.
Yeah.
Exactly. Lord Trinan writes in, Demolition Man 2 will be the easiest movie to shoot of all time. Just take a camera outside. We're living too many aspects of it. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much, right?
Exactly.
It'll be more of a slice of life now.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna be YouTube in 2020. That's there's your movie. Just cut all the different broadcasts from that era, which sadly wasn't us, but we're here now.
It's actually going to be a time travel movie, and the bad guy is going to time travel to our time and take that back to 1993.
Yeah. Who
All
knows,
right.
man? But yeah, I thought that was kind of awesome. Next one?
Yeah, I'll give you the privacy of swapping your tabs.
Yeah, thank you. Here we go. I was actually all pretty much set up for it here. All right. So this one comes to us from Spiky Bits. Big trouble for GW, Amazon, and the Henry Cavill series. Okay. This was, we've been not hearing much about the whatever Warhammer 40K project that Henry Cavill and Amazon were going to be working together on for quite some time. Okay. Everything's been a little too quiet. So sources were reached out to. Now, this is still a rumor, but here's what we think is going on in the background. Apparently, when Amazon and Games Workshop signed the initial deal, there was a clause in the agreement that the normal Warhammer 40K IP, the media rights, would remain with Amazon after the filming of the series, and they would get those to keep those rights. So effectively, Games Workshop would be signing away the film rights to Warhammer 40k, which, in terms like Space Marine, would belong to Amazon for movies and TV shows and what have you. Obviously, Games Workshop is not on board with that. And it appears that the reason why things haven't moved forward is because of legal disputes.
But it just sounds like Amazon's being greedy again.
Well, wait a minute. There's multiple layers here. Because if you know anything about Games Workshop, you know that like Games Workshop is like the smaller version of Smaug to Amazon's full-sized Smaug, right? They are like infamous for trying to claim things that they really don't belong to. They tried to copyright the word pauldron. Like pauldron.
So this is a case of reaping always a bigger fish?
Yeah, like this is a case of Games Workshop reaping what they sow and suddenly being butthurt about it, right?
Which at the same time, it's the same thing for Amazon, because like when it comes to the court, supposedly everybody's equal. And in terms of legal precedent, it seems like Games Workshop has the home court advantage. Puns all intended.
Well, you see, this is going to be the interesting part of it, because I think they're going to try to settle this lawyer to lawyer. I don't think either one of them wants to risk it going to court, because if it goes to court and the judge happens to have read Robert Heinlein like we have, and know that Space Marines actually really come from the book Starship Troopers from the 40s, there's a good chance Games Workshop could lose all their copyrights.
Pretty sure it goes like a lot of those words go back even further, just in terms of like,
yeah, like common use words, right?
Well, people goofing, like using them, like you said, common use, but also like common use in literature. Like Space Marine, I'm pretty sure is what they used to call pot smoking Marines back when it was legal for the few years that it was legal.
Fair enough. But there's a lot of pieces here that I don't think either side wants to risk an actually public court battle. So this is what's going on in the shadows. Meanwhile, you know, Henry Cavill's just sitting there going like, hey guys, I want to nerd out and play a Space Marine on the TV. Yay! Right? So, I mean...
Which, like, again,
I'm sorry, but Amazon can't copyright.
No, exactly. I think this is really one of those times where we, the fans, really got to just remind Amazon and Games Workshop, like, quit playing in the background. Nobody cares about your squabbles. Like,
yeah.
Go back to
Halo
just making 15-20% deals, call it a day, and then come buy it again, Amazon. If you're so good at producing the next best film, prove it. Yeah. If not, you should lose the rights, because like look at what they're doing with Lord of the Rings. They have 5 seasons of trash planned. Paramount with Halo, they have exclusivity to producing Halo for some reason, and they're obliterating it. Like, that's the reason why they don't trust you, Amazon. Like, sure, Reacher was great, but what if your EP that likes to get her hands on everything ruins it for some reason or another?
The thing is, Space Marine...
the fear of these long-term contracts with IPs.
Space Marine has been the common lingo for a very long time. Halo's got Space Marines. Warhammer obviously does. StarCraft has Space Marines. For all mankind had like very realistic and believable like
Marines in space,
actual
a space Marine, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They even had space cosmonauts with space K-47s.
Wait, doesn't
I
Dune
just said that
have
to say space
Marines?
K-47 again.
And Foundation by Isaac Asimov, didn't Empire have Space Marines?
It's literally it's a public use term. It's a common use term. It's not, you can't coin. It's stupid of Amazon to think that they can, you know, hijack it. Like it's,
well, I mean, Games Workshop originally feels they own it. So this is like two people fighting over an imaginary sock.
That's exactly. That's exactly what it is.
This is like Gene Simmons level.
And not even a clean sock either. It's
Nonsense.
crusted over and gross.
Yeah, this is two homeless dudes fighting over an imaginary sock, dude.
Yep.
Dude, this is whoever sued Ed Sheeran, except both of them are the guy that sued Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, pretty much. But in case anyone was interested, if you want to find out what the general believed plan for what the Henry Cavill series is going to look like, it looks like they're going to be adapting Eisenhorn and his stories. Dan Abbott has put together a spectacular series in the Eisenhorn series. The omnibus is definitely worth checking out. And there's some really interesting stories. But the idea is Henry Cavill would be playing a commissar who constantly gets put in the most dangerous battlefields and finds ways to weasel his way out of it. And while he's weaseling his way out, he somehow winds up saving the day.
Nice.
Which meets the comedic stylings of Henry Cavill just about perfectly. He has that opportunity to play a little bit of the gruffness we saw in The Witcher, and he's going to be interacting with major characters throughout the Warhammer 40k universe. So,
like he's the Witcher and the Bard from the Netflix series combined.
almost. It's a fascinating run through.
Fun. I love it because I think Henry Cavill, like his part in Rogue Nation or whatever it was for Mission Impossible, where he played the bad guy, was phenomenal. Like he made Tom Cruise actually look 7 feet tall for some reason. I don't know how, but he actually made it so that Tom Cruise actually had to beat somebody and then beat somebody smart.
Well, I mean, he managed to make Tom Cruise look, tall. That's a pretty impressive feat.
That's why I said it that way.
Making him look 2 feet tall would have been impressive, but
no, that's what I mean. Is he somehow made the super crazy Tom Cruise that played Jack Reacher in that god awful adaptation? Looked good because of Henry Cavill's bad guy in Mission Impossible 28.
All right, so
that's how good his acting was. I love Henry Cavill. He's my favorite Superman by far.
Yeah. So we ready for the third piece of news that's fit for me to muckrake?
In a second, because we do have a fan mail response to that second piece of news, and that is from Nemesis of Eden writes in, 2 homeless dudes fighting over the rights to the invisible pigeon that someone else invented 40 years previous, claiming it is their idea. Yep, that's pretty much...
That's basically it.
It's a silly bum fight over silly bum fight things, and yeah.
But for some reason, the paperwork is legit and notarized.
Yeah, I'm thankful he's not playing an Ultramarine at least. They are so overhyped, says Nemesis of Eden to cap off the final say on that particular portion. All right, moving into our third segment of pop culture news.
And like Goldfish, we forgot that topic, so next news.
So, Dune 2.
This is brought to you by, looks like, CarMax? Kelly Blue Book, IGN, and...
IGN is actually the
IGN
site
the source,
that
so
has the news up.
We should say that when we talk about the sources we're borrowing.
All right, so this is actually from IGN News. Denis Villeneuve they've already done all the post-production for Dune 2. It's ready to roll. Dune 3, which is going to be called Dune Messiah, is being written right now. The screenplay is almost finished, but Villeneuve wants to make a completely different movie between Dune 2 and Dune 3 to give himself a little bit of space and to allow certain characters to age up to be appropriate for Dune Messiah. I think this is a very, very good thing, because if you realize you are just, artistically wiped out from doing basically 2 6-hour movies back to back, and you need a little bit of a break in between, a palate cleanser, if you will, of doing a different kind of movie, I think that's a very good thing. And I'm willing to give him the time to wait, given that we basically got 2 3-hour movies within 2 years of each other.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Hold
it'd
on.
be
Sorry.
appropriate
Hold on.
to let them age
Quick.
up,
Real
right?
quick. Sorry. Now this is now brought to you by Microsoft 360. Defend against cyber threats with enterprise grade protection. If only I
There
had
you
one of my
go.
enterprise models right here, right now. That would have been. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, it changed again. Now it's Vicks NyQuil. Skogly, why don't you talk us to sleep while I rub some Vicks Vapor Rub?
This is like all of a sudden it's just like static. It's like, boo.
And now to our real sponsor, our Dark Overlords testing their ad deployment in live broadcast.
So long as you don't
You
say
weren't
Raid
supposed to say
Shadow
it out
Legends,
loud.
I'm happy.
Right. Watch our numbers go into the negatives with that one. This is brought to you by Raid Shadow. Oh, now we owe people viewership time. Okay.
Oh,
You know
man.
that's what they're. You know what? Let me put this stupid idea out into the ether for our YouTube overlords to consider. I mean, they could start punishing channels like that. I mean, like, you need to watch. You need to watch this much crap from other people before you can broadcast live again. Oh boy, wouldn't that be a way to wrangle things in a little? Anyway.
Oh man. But yeah, so I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good idea for Denis Villeneuve to take some time off and do like a Ford versus Ferrari or something in between, you know, the Dune movies, because I think he deserves a break if you're going to work that hard on it.
Yeah, and I mean the first Dune movie was already like I was when I saw part 1 flash on the screen when the title said, I was like, oh come on, don't do this to me. And then sure enough, by the end of the movie, I was like, great, now I gotta wait. And then the strikes happened, and then I was like, great, I gotta wait. And then by the way, this is brought to you by Chevy now. And now it's like, you know, now it's funny.
4 times
What?
since it came out. I blue balls myself with that movie like 4 times since it's come out. Like I'm so
But that's
excited.
just it.
for
But that's just it.
iteration.
I'm excited for the second part because it was so good. But now he wants to wait for the third one? Okay. That's fine.
I'll probably just wait till
This is a good idea. It's
Well,
sound because he wants to
so
take his time
good.
with it. So
So Skogly, just so you're aware, Dune 1 and Dune 2 will be the first book. It will be a complete it will be a
Okay.
complete
Okay.
story
All
there.
right.
Dune 3 will start leading off based on kids from the main character.
Okay.
Okay? So Dune is a story told over generations. So Dune Messiah will start the next chapter of that grand experiment.
That is amazing. Like Foundation was proof that it could be done. And Dune so far, and if they keep up the just current goals, like it will be the proof that it should be done more often. Because like if anything, it's proof that you can actually hand off a main cast role without necessarily like denigrating any of the work of the previous cast member, and also without relying on their cameos.
Yeah, I mean, the main cast members who are parents do show up to kind of hand things off, but you don't necessarily need to see the third movie for the first 2 to make sense as a cohesive story.
But then you also have like that's what I mean is like this is like the goals of these kinds of movies. When you're doing a generational deployment, it could go wrong, right? Especially like a generational anthology, like you're trying to keep all of this cohesive while also trying to say that all of them are the most important of their family member for the movie that they're in.
Yeah.
Which is such a complex story. Like that's something everybody tries to tell all of their friends. Like you matter regardless of how much you may or may not feel like you do. You're just trying to make people feel that. Now you're trying to make fictional characters give people that feeling in the space of a film. And that's what makes it a craft rather than just an expression of art. Like a lot of people denigrate film, but it's the same as writing. In general, it takes so much effort to try to condense all of this into 2 hours because the 3-hour thing only works for people like me. I love 3-hour movies. I love watching back to back to back. But I know I'm a rare breed in that instance for sure.
All right. Well, John, what's coming up? What's coming up soon in our video game news segment? I'm gonna tease that real quick.
Well, we've got No Man's Sky, and we've got a big shout out to the fans that we'll be doing, because you guys really did carry GTA 6 on your backs, and we're really proud of you. 1 million views in 2 days. It's impressive.
Yeah.
You guys really did that for them. You took that really humble indie studio that we just brought to you for the first time ever. The 6 is a misnomer.
Yeah.
And you guys gave them 1 million views, most YouTube views in a day.
Yeah.
In 2 days.
Nemesis of Eden says, "Stay amazing, you beautiful beings. I must go discuss Jeff Goldblum becoming a fly. See you later." Yeah, no, one of our viewers was very enthusiastic. I think half of those views were from them. But yeah. Moving on, but before we get into the video game segment, let's Scogly, how many more episodes of For All Mankind did you consume?
I have watched 4 episodes so far, and it's really good. It's really good. Yeah. Yep.
Man, you're not even on the 5th episode yet, so you haven't skipped ahead yet.
I know.
No, but you like it though? Even just those 4 episodes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm more on board to like. I realized I don't watch nearly. I'm not in the habit of watching as much like TV and movies because I don't know. I guess everything's just been so terrible for so long, right?
Yeah.
You just kind of got out of the habit of just doing that. So I'm kind of struggling that, especially when you're so far behind, and it's just like there's like 25 25 episodes to catch up. It's just like, oh, right. But honestly, it's really good, and I'm getting more jazzed on like picking up steam on it. So
awesome. Yeah, I mean, after next week, we got the rest of the Christmas break, and then I think we'll actually probably be catching up on the rest of the series anyway. But we'll let's see what to discuss about this week's episode. Yeah, John, what were your thoughts initially? Overall.
Okay, I think this show is like. This is the first streamer ER where it actually has continuous drama. Again, it's another one going for generational anthology because it's not. The story has very little to do with the people. If you notice, it has almost everything to do with the space travel, which is, to me, the more fun thing to really play on. It makes all of the characters capable of good and evil, and you realize that, like, regardless of who wins, space travel wins, space exploration wins. And it kind of, I don't know, to me it's like a much less political than it could be show. Like a lot of the stuff they deal with is modern day politics set in older times and certain things like that, but at the same time, like the politics nature of it has more to do with the like House of Cards kind of politics, where you got to get one guy to get in, and then you got to convince this other guy to get in, and then, oh no, it turns out the reason that you shouldn't have gone with this guy is because he was a cheap SOB and his part broke and it failed and could have killed everyone, but because of insider deals and spycraft, you found out about it in time. And that to me is like why it's ER. Like a lot of it is politics. A lot of it is monotony and mundane, but it's all for the fun part of like Mars. And to me, I think this episode was a long time coming because like, yeah, Ed is like this great astronaut, but like he's an idiot. He has been the whole time. Like he was a revved up pilot tester. Like the kind of guy that likes to just get high on almost dying. And
some of Chris Hadfield's stories about being test pilots are just blood curdling.
Right. And then to him, that's his version of the shit. Like, that's his version of going to war, and he loves it. And he loves it so much that he'd do anything to continue doing it, even taking on like long-term missions. Like, this guy is not meant to be long-term mission captain of everything. He is 100% meant to be like, all right, we're gonna test this thing. You might die. Good luck.
Well,
and he's like, I'm on it. But
I think,
but like the story has set him up. And they're like, there's so many compounding failures that have, that's why I say is like, this episode's actually awesome in terms of the long-term writing. Everything came to a head with Ed being like, you can't control me, nobody could. And like Commander Poole being like, that's the problem, dickhead. Like, nobody's fighting you. You're just fighting everybody at this point. And you're the only one still technically trying to beat the Russians.
Yeah.
well, look,
real
oh,
quick.
okay.
We got fan mail. Sorry, I'll just get that in real quick. Daniel Lars says, by this time next week, we shall have some Reacher to discuss. What, me not having Apple Plus? Surely a PC guy like me would sign up for that. Well, I mean, of all the streaming services, it's the one I don't regret paying for, honestly. As far as Reacher goes, I'll have to double check what the release schedule looks like, because I think we may be able to squeeze in an episode, because we're also going to be talking about Christmas Vacation, Violent Night, and we are for sure Godzilla -1 next week. Come, hell or high water. Like, please, guys, if you can, this I think is one worth shelling out for the theater, especially from what I hear people saying. So, I'm gonna make it happen this week, and it's for sure on the docket. But we'd still have those other 2 Christmas movies, and then you know what? Maybe we can kick off with a little Reacher. We'll see. I like packing the show with more stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's time to
I like
shift
making
gears.
sure we got a solid schedule.
Exactly. No, that was a great pop culture news segment. I know I'm raving like the show's already over, but anyway.
Okay, so my feeling on Ed is,
and hello to you, Polypixel. Welcome.
Yeah. So I think Ed is absolutely great when he is 100% pushing the envelope, right? Like, when you put him in a barely functional spaceship that you're going to be a constant adrenaline struggle, Ed is the right guy for that. But like asteroid mining, like industrial applications in a base that's already decently set up now, he's not the right guy for that. He's not the guy that's going to day in and day out be a space trucker. You know what I mean? Like,
you can see that by like the fact that he's smoking weed. Like, he didn't have any hippie girlfriend to convince him.
I know.
Yep.
Like, if anything, it was his friend who was his friend because he was hanging out with his wife, and the whole time he was 100% sure they were sleeping together.
Yeah.
Especially when he was stuck in space thinking about it for too long.
Yeah.
And there's many scenes where that happens, and that's who convinced Ed that it was okay to smoke weed. That's how bored he is in charge of a Mars base. Like, he's not the kind of guy that thinks this is scary. This is just basic leadership 101. He's been to that class 1,000 million times.
Yeah, and I will say real quick, for anybody that hasn't caught up or doesn't know what's going on, worried about spoilers, at this point in time, anything we say about Season 4, there is so much stuff you will have to go through and so many eras of time between Season 1 and Season 4, you're probably going to forget what we said until you watch the episode. So,
Yeah,
I'm not even revealing the biggest...
No, you're not even revealing most of the stuff.
That changed the whole political dynamic of the show in this episode. It changed everything. In terms of, like, why would we go back to the Cold, or to what we thought was the Cold War, but in this time would technically be modern day Russian approach to war? Like it's pretty crazy where we're at when it comes to the idea that, like, the Mars mission is about to secure a natural resource that was once thought exclusive to Russia. Right after Russia just got done with a massive regime change that was supposedly going back to Stalinistic Russia.
Yeah. I will say, too, I also like that they did touch on what happened to Danny.
Yeah.
because I do think we needed we did need closure to that section of the story.
I do also like that you called it.
Oh, which part?
Well, we all assumed that he grabbed a pistol and ate it, but at the end of the day, he ate it.
Yeah. Well, I figured that was going to be the case. Like something along those lines. I mean,
Honestly,
yo, straight up, being sentenced to being exiled on a planet alone by yourself, that'd take a hell of a constitution to deal with, man.
Well, and that's just it. They screwed up because they should have started allowing him, like, daily visit, or not, like, weekly visits back for, a few hours in a day, and then back to the...
It was the amount of just absurdity that he had caused, all while they're like,
Well,
because
the thing
his
is, it
actions
wasn't
with
just
the
him,
North
though.
Korean
It wasn't just
years.
him. It wasn't just him. Ed is just as much responsible, because
yeah.
he should not have put him in charge of communications, and the guy in charge of communications who did die, he did actually deserve to have all the blame shouldered on him, because he was the one who was like, yeah, I'm gonna trust this drug-addled idiot by himself during the critical part of this operation to go take care of a
Nobody
side
knew he was
quest.
drug-addled except for Ed, because Ed didn't alert his team that one of his guys was failing because he thought it was better to deal with it quietly.
Okay, he knew that something was wrong, is my point. He knew that it was not...
Yeah,
safe
look,
to trust
ultimately, Ed...
Well, again, it's like literally astronauts trusting other astronauts. They just never anticipate that one of them is on drugs. If anything, the stress is probably just not pooping
But the
properly.
second that
Like,
Ed
that's
figured
the
it
point.
out, he should have, like, pulled him off of
Yeah.
everything. And that's...
Oh no,
why
and it was
Yeah.
100% Ed's fault. But at the same time, it was also like the whole logistical process. But from the part, even in this episode where Poole says it, she goes, "I told you not to send him. He wasn't ready."
Right, and at the time,
And
that was
Poole
too
called it
hard for him.
then.
She called it then, but she didn't navigate the political blindness that Ed was dealing with, because Ed didn't see any of that or consider any of that, because at the moment that he recruited Danny, it was because of all the politics of the situation. Yeah, but it was the fact that he thought that he was trying to talk. Poole was. He thought that it was a gambit. He thought that she was BSing him, trying to get him to let her go because she wanted to take him to Mars, and he gave him a better offer. So he thought that she was playing politics. She failed to recognize that in the situation, and so she didn't get her point across effectively enough, because Ed, being Ed, and she should have known, if she knew Ed as well as she claimed, she should have recognized, oh yeah, Ed is seeing this through the political lens. He's trying to get back at NASA.
She also assumed that Ed was seeing it from her eyes, knowing that she would never play politics.
And that's why,
And that's
when it comes
literally
to
the issue of that's
the
that's
issue.
what
What's
I
the
love
issue?
about
See,
the
it's
show.
what I'm
like-
realizing. What I'm realizing is the biggest problem is failure to communicate. At the end of the day, is not responsible to one party or the other. If communications fail, it's both parties' fault. In one way or the other, there are traces where you can find where, no, you forgot to mention this at this time, I forgot to mention this, and this is a perfect example of that, because you're right. She incorrectly assumed that that her point was made, and Ed was clearly going, nah, you just don't want to lose him. You're mad that I'm sniping him. All right, see ya. And she didn't follow that up with, Ed, I need to be clear. Like, I don't care about the politics.
No,
This
she
is
should
what
have
I
been.
saw.
Yeah, exactly.
And she
It was
didn't.
100% like, yo, bro, this is homie to homie. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Bob,
Yeah.
serious talk. You
Exactly.
remember?
Should have
you
waited till
remember
the
the
end of the
other one?
right. Wait
He's
till the end of the
going through what
workday.
happened to his
Sit down with some beers, and yeah, hey Bob, this is why I don't think you should
and
take
she
Daniel's
did.
space.
There's so many times where like that those instances did happen, but I love what you said about it, the miscommunication, because like that's how life works. It doesn't matter if you did your part. If the job didn't get done, it didn't get done, and that's how we improve. Is we learn from all of those mistakes. We accept all of those mistakes. Like she could have done better, he could have done better. They thought of each other as betters, but in the instance where something very important like this, like, oh no, hey, not trying to ruin his career, but drugs. Like, that's what you do. You say it that kind of direct communication while it still can be considered plausible deniability.
And see, but
I actually think the way I would have done it was I would have gone something along the lines of, hey, Ed, I want to do you a favor. Every one of the candidates that you have that was working with or at NASA, let me send you their psych profiles and everything else so that you can review. Right? Give him the info. Let them make the calls. Right?
The biggest issue to me with the not like mentioning the mental psychosis to Ed was the fact that like Ed's number one blinder was Danny was a surrogate son.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
100 and literally picture perfect surrogate.
Right. But
Astronaut
what I'm also
after his own heart.
right, and that's
Literally his wife.
Well, and that's what I'm trying to point out, though, too, is that Poola is not perfect either. No matter how, like, some people might perceive that, you know, that confrontation between them two, and I'm like, no, she is full of her own mistakes in the process, and that's that's on purpose, because this is supposed to be a show about humans being humans and screwing up.
And that's the ER part.
Right.
That's the part where, like, literally, no matter how right anyone is in the speech, like, this show goes to show that, like, crowd still messes with you. You still default to your instincts, and sometimes your instincts are utter garbage. And sometimes some people are cool as a cucumber, and their instincts are picture perfect, and it's because they've been training as a pilot for years. Yeah. Doesn't mean their instincts are also picture perfect when it comes to raising children when they didn't.
Yeah, and that's just it. This show is very special because, like I've been saying, and I'll probably say for every day I watch this show, is that it humanizes these people that were once put on a pedestal, but it does it in such a dignified way because it doesn't call anybody out directly by name, but it has these fictional characters who go through this horribleness, and you're like, wait, could this have been happening in real life, you know, to these people? Yes, some things like this very well could have. I'm not going to go out of my way to research because I don't feel the need to.
So I can say for the record, having researched the early Apollo missions, some of this stuff did happen.
And right? You know what? I think for the dignity of the families and out of respect, we don't need to say who specifically and get down and dirty to the details.
Well, I think the piece that I would take away is, look, some of these guys would literally go, you know, before they go into quarantine to go on an Apollo mission, would, you know, drive by the bar, get 3 fingers of whiskey, go down, get in their convertible, drive onto the NASA thing, be in the quarantine to get their suit on, and go into space like that. And, you know, say what you want about that in modern day analysis, that still makes them friggin' rock stars, man.
Yeah.
And even like I think this is actually one of the perfect shows that does the thing that they said in Band of Brothers, respects the rank, respects the pedestal without worrying about respecting the officer. Like, it doesn't matter if you care about the guy behind the rank. And that's what this show does such a great job of. Like, who is Ed fighting with? A fellow astronaut, not some banker that suddenly got promoted. And when he did fight with those guys, how did he win? As an astronaut. Like, when he's in his element, he's crushing it. And when he's not, he's not. And this show does such a great job for each character. That same thing is how it plays out. And that's where a lot of the miscommunication and just also the, like, character flaws show their shine. Is like, the show takes time to put each character in a position where they are their least comfortable. Margot, somebody who had yet to be battle tested ever. Season 4, she is getting the stiff leg of it, man. And literally, writing stays par. When she is working as a scientist, whether it's for NASA or for Russia, she's loving it. And she's on fire. And she's doing her job to the best of her ability. But when she's in charge of lives, how does she keep her own? And she suffers with those questions in real time and in real experience. And that's what makes this show so fun for so long. Like, yeah, sometimes it's slow. But if you think about it, the amount of effort that they put into the overall writing, like, none of the words are bad. as much as they are fiction, it's all an actually really good book.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I have a lot of respect for anybody who's willing to strap themselves to a couple of million pounds of explosive and fly it into space, right? Like, and I also get though that like you're gonna blow off steam. You know what I mean? Like you're going to party a little too hard in Cape Canaveral, and thankfully those cops there have kind of okay, yeah, no, it's an astronaut, they're blowing off steam, let's give them a break, kind of thing. And I think that's perfect.
It's funny because like if you watch Mad Men and then you watch that first season 1, nothing seems awkward about any of that. Like not a single thing seems thrown off, because there was a legitimate time until relatively recently drinking and driving was considered, you're dumb if you have to get a DUI.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to talk your way out of it if you're not that drunk. Otherwise you shouldn't have driven home and it's your bad all around.
Yeah, like you should be able to handle a drink or two. Yeah.
Exactly.
The thing is,
and that's what the cops used to do too. They're like, oh, you're an astronaut, you can handle above a 0.08. It's like, no, they're as drunk as everybody is at 0.08. They can't see straight and they can't react fast enough. And the show
but he's a hero. But the thing, that's just it. It's like after 9 years, 2 tours on the same ship and same land billet, I can confirm that everything in this show, wow, I actually got dealt a pretty decent hand in life with a rate that really is just 2 different jobs in those environments. Like between the away unit, the way the away unit works, and between the stuff operating in Central Command in Houston, what do they call it, Mission Control. I understand all of it, and it's all very accurate to how all those types of situations. It's so nice to see people actually do the research into how these centers function. Because if there's one movie I absolutely hate with a passion, it's The Guardian. That is without a doubt one of the just lamest movies ever made. Because, well, I just, and it's for me, it's that, there's the stereotypical, Kevin Costner's character dies, which I predicted before I even saw the movie. I knew that was going to happen. Because everybody raves, oh, it's so good and so touching, the ending. You mean Kevin Costner dies? Oh, you've seen it? Well, don't have to now, thanks. I avoided it for the longest time.
I like to think of The Guardian as triathletes with a cause.
Yeah, but the thing that that really stuck out that I just hated the most was, and it's because I worked in a command center, so I knew that this is not how things went, was when Clancy Brown, the Fullbird 06, gives a briefing to everybody in the command center about what's going to go down, and I'm watching this going, no, stupid, this does not happen. We don't do this. We're a live watch session. Stuff's just moving constantly. There's no, grand speech from the captain about you guys are good. No, we do that when we commission cutters. We do that when we stand outside at 8 a.m. for whatever reason, and that's it. But when stuff's going on live happening, no, there's no time for grand speeches and pep talks and hype. It's you're in the shit going. And that's what For All Mankind does a very good job of doing. I think there was maybe one moment where I was like, okay, this is too sentimental.
That speech did go on, but for the other officers in the commander's room while everybody else was working.
Right, not in the command center.
Or in his own mirror, and then he just pretended like he gave it to everybody else so that, I don't know, like, everybody makes fun of that guy 100,000% forever. Nobody is like, I was so moved by his words. Even if you were, when you're in that situation, you always bust his balls. And you bust everybody's balls who felt anything remotely emotional towards that. Because, no. And that's what they mean by being tough. That's what they mean by having thick skin, is like, you don't get to be emotional like that. That is for the movies, and that is for the people that get emotional about that stuff. Everybody else just keeps working like life is gonna be here tomorrow, even if they're going into the end of the world. Like, that's why those guys are considered hard.
You can't do the job.
It's not because they're just
Yeah.
Motivated gunslingers.
Exactly, and that's what this that's again from this show, from season 1, 2, which is still my favorite, 3, and even now in 4, it's all still, even though the drama's there, they haven't departed from making it look, making it look special, but having those
real.
moments of humanization of, oh yeah, we're sitting here like in the 3rd season when they realize that they're useless because they can't communicate fast and effective enough, and that's all they did. They were like, wow, there's nothing we can really do, and everything just kind of calms down on that side of the storyline. I'm like, yeah, that's basically what happens whenever we lose communications with an asset. Like, I've been missing for 6 hours. Hopefully they'll pop up on, oh, they just chatted their position here.
Well,
so it's like yeah. No, there were so many times when I've had to get ready to put out those lost comms messages. Never actually formally had to do it, thankfully, because I hear those are the ones that stick with you. But yeah, no, always came close, especially with cutters, because they're out there for hours on end, and it's like guys, we have procedure here. I wish it could be the Wild West frontier days where you guys go out on the water and you don't talk to us ever again. At least until you come back to port, but it's not like that. We have to talk constantly. So,
But
And
that's
you
the
know
whole
what?
reason of having one dork who's only like an E3 in charge of that conversation. Like, I think so many people think that like a lot of the bureaucracy is a
I
negative.
was actually at E4, but
Bureaucracy
I can't confirm I was that dork.
Right, and that's what I mean is like it's just one person that has to be the radio, and then everybody else gets to pretend like they're on the high seas, and then it's fun. But I think
Yeah, it did.
That's what they showed-
I will say it. I did have its very moment. I did have an introspective moment when I was like, I just told a cutter where to go and what to do. I mean, granted, that order was passed down from my chain of command, but I was the one that said, go here now, and they did.
power.
Yeah,
kind
I
of
know.
feels cool,
And I
huh?
was just an E4, and it's like, you're taking orders from a peon. Anyway.
That was my whole career.
Dude, and then talking to aircraft, too. Of course, when the pilots, showed up to visit the command center, and I'm like, how old are you? 22? And you fly airplanes? Man, I'm a loser already. So, yeah. All right. For All Mankind, great show. Absolutely love it. If you haven't started watching, you need to. Skogli, you got to watch at least like
Yeah,
6
because
episodes.
there's gonna be some big shifts and whatever, and the scope of the show is gonna open up, and I'm excited. And if they can which they obviously have, maintain the quality of the character development and writing.
Oh, yeah. No,
The
this
emotional
is peak-
impact.
This is peak
That's
Ron
the
of
best
the
part.
Moore.
The scope never changed. Literally, the scope has always been these characters in these roles, and it tells you who they are and what their role is, and regularly reiterates each character in each character's role. Either they get pushed up a peg or they get knocked down a peg, and we follow them. Also, time is moving ridiculously fast.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
it's really
there's
good.
great
That's the
emotional
coolest thing
payoffs
about
and stuff. Yeah, just right in the beginning, like right out the gates. It's
Well, dude, it's so cool because
quality,
like
obviously.
especially something I'm noticing now, like rewatching it for our show and for discussions, like it's doing the thing that most TV shows thought they couldn't. Like they thought they had to maintain week to week continuity, and then between seasons they could be like 3 years later, right? But this show is like, no, we can just say it's 3 weeks later. Every episode can be 3 weeks later, 3 months later, 3 years later, because like it kind of glosses over details that could be glossed over. None of our characters had any major interest going on for the next 3 weeks or a year.
It's like they've been training for 100 days. Oh, day
100 days.
200, day
Well, it'll be like-
200.
It'll be like day 99, day 100. Oh, it looks like we're going back to training. Day 600.
Yeah.
And like we
there was
only
that
get
whole
the status
hurry up and wait.
updates.
They skipped it.
Yeah, like we only get like these are when interesting things happen. And they make that kind of clear. It's like, nothing's happened here for the last like 100 days or so. So we're just going to bypass this.
Yeah. there
But
was
day
one in this-
103, that's where craziness happens.
Well, there was
And
this
that's-
major
oh.
point like that in this episode where it jumped like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And I did not care one bit because it literally went, hey, so it's been 6 weeks since we started this, and these are the current status updates. And it was like scene transition. It was that harsh, but it felt just.
Yeah, and
yeah, like we're used to it almost by now.
That's why this show is so believable too, because they don't have like catastrophic. Like John, do you remember watching 24? Which
I love 24.
Well, I do love 24 too, and I think that'd be worth reviewing on this show at some point. But some of those seasons, there's so much on the so many just out of nowhere B and C plots that come about, and you're like, so in a single day. Jack Bauer stopped terrorism, assumed the presidency temporarily, stopped nuclear war, and it's all this stuff that happens in 24 hours.
That was honestly the greatest, like, Tom Clancy style, Modern Warfare 2, the original style World War level event.
Yes.
That this super secret agency was fighting. And it was one day a year, supposedly, that it happened. And like their enemies are actually so good that they can do this much damage in a day.
A nuke goes off, and literally less than a few hours later, the perpetrators are arrested and brought to justice. Just like, anyway. But that's just it. You have
Jack Bauer is a super agent.
Yeah. Or let me think. What's another good show that? Oh yeah, if you actually consider the amount of shit that happens to the crew of the Enterprise on Star Trek over 7 years, it's a little ridiculous in the grand scheme.
Well, I mean,
without any
rotation properly, you can see that there is months in between some episodes.
They imply that, but it's at the same time, it's like, okay, there's still 25 episodes. That's like, out of 365 days, that's still a lot of days to have a bunch of crazy shit happen in a year.
Like, the other thing that Star Trek is lacking, and that I think For All Mankind has just been to me, it's my favorite thing. But like, they have a technology meter. So like at the beginning of every season, they talk about their goals. And the whole season is about achieving that goal by adopting and creating technology to achieve that goal, all while preserving the goal through the monotony of life. Like, they have to combat everybody who thinks that the goal is going to fail while simultaneously still trying to hold on to the goal, while simultaneously still trying to aim for the right goals. And that's the hard part about life. Right? That's all life is your goals times your work's goals times your family's goals divided by reality. And good luck. And I think that's what the show is so great at, that Star Trek had lacking. It's like, if at the beginning of each season, they were like, we're working on this new photon laser. And then by the middle of the season, they're doing the prototype. And by the end of the season, they're using it for a reason that's actually essential. Suddenly all those other lapses and jumps actually matter, but also don't. Like, that's where the show really like is super awesome, because you're like, yeah, they skipped over production. Yeah, they skipped over prototyping and bullshit and committee, all the stuff nobody in real life cares about except for the people on those committees or in those production slots. And none of our characters are in those roles. So skip.
Yeah, I mean, we're not watching the it goes to committee and then there's a whole bunch of graft, and then it goes back to committee and suddenly a whole bunch of people are now interested, but now other people are upset that they didn't get the bribe, so now it's got to go back to committee, right? Like,
and then a lobby just comes in and buys everybody a lot of stuff and changes the whole thing. So we have to start the whole process with a new committee.
Right. And then the media misrepresents both sides of the arguments on whatever the issue is. So that way people get riled up over absolutely nothing. Anyway, what are we talking about again? Oh, sorry. You were saying that this is better than Star Trek because it does a lot of better world building. Well, it's almost like it's created by a guy who wrote Star Trek.
No, I'm not saying
particularly Next Generation, DS9.
Oh yeah,
some Voyager,
and that's what I'm saying.
And the newer
If
PST.
anything, it's a testament to his learning, because he heard those comments. He heard the stuff about the time lapses and how they weren't properly discussed or properly nuanced. And clearly he learned. That's what I'm trying to say is like, and that's what I love about writing is it's never about the writer. It's all about the writing because every writer can get better. And this guy's proof. Ronald D. Moore.
Okay, sorry, I got to correct my information real quick. So yes, he did write on Voyager for a bit. But then I guess couldn't work for Braga anymore, and that's probably why I never ended up on Enterprise, and that's when he went over to the newer BSG. That's right, because the new BSG was, 04 to 09, which would have been still during, because Enterprise ended in 05?
05.
Yeah. 05 was the end of Enterprise, and then he did Caprica, which lasted one season, and then a bunch of other stuff. But you know what? He's got this show, and that's all that matters, because everything that he went through got him to this point.
That's a really major thing I just realized is a pop culture opinion epiphany mid-show. But like, sci-fi really was too early for its time. The channel, like they were spending a bunch of money on CGI shows, and now Unreal 5 is here. Man, did they miss. That sucks. Because, like, I love sci-fi shows. Like, Warehouse 13, one of the dumbest archaeology shows of all time.
I've only heard good things about Warehouse 13, that it's basically Indiana Jones meets sci-fi.
Meets X-Files. And it's
right.
Dumb in terms of, like, their historical accuracy to archaeology. But it's so fun. I loved that show. But the CGI, if they had Unreal 5, mind-boggling. Like, if they could actually do that stuff accurately, it would be awesome.
Well, Scogli, sorry if our discussion put you to sleep.
Oh. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so, as it turns out, for all mankind, it's actually boring. Anyway. So, yes, I can't stop talking about this show enough. As some people have talked about, it's like a prequel to Star Trek. I disagree because Star Trek's actually in this series, so it could be an alternate universe to Star Trek for sure. I mean, technically, we are in an alternate universe to Star Trek now, being that the original TOS timeline had CVN-65 destroyed in 1995. So, yeah.
Well, more than anything, Star Trek didn't have Star Trek.
As far as we know, yeah.
Always been my proof. Like, that's always my favorite thing with these kinds of shows, though, is like everybody, even if they want to add to Star Trek, it's always Star Trek Plus.
Yeah, but the thing is,
that show has the benefit of learning from new or old Star Trek.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, at the same time, you say that, Star Trek doesn't exist in the Star Trek universe, and I'm thinking, you know what? That might have been a better way to end Voyager, is to do the Spaceballs ending, where Tom Paris finds an archive, and as it turns out, the whole show's already made, so they just skip to the ending and then decide to do that, and that's that. I mean, come on. That stupid time travel Borg plot, you can't do any worse than that. That was literally of all the plot devices to get them home, of all the advanced species they encountered in the Delta Quadrant, the best idea that they could come up with for Voyager was
so lazy.
It's just the dumbest. It's so, and I hate that that's like and then it doesn't make any sense. Like, was Janeway's travel back in time predetermined then? Like, if you want to have an episode with the Guardian of Forever explaining that that's how things had to happen, fine, whatever. Or, Q bullshit. But she blatantly violates the Temporal Prime Directive, and I guess Temporal Investigations is like, we're just gonna sleep. Nah, it'll be fine. We're just gonna sleep on this one. No big deal.
Fuck.
It's part of the Prime timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
The TVA said it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I guess the general rule of thumb is if dudes from the future don't show up to stop you, you're probably okay.
That has always
I'm
been
gonna use
the
that in my
philosophy of
defense
time
next
travel.
time.
Mostly because, like, if you really are concerned about messing up the future, why are you going back in time? Why not go forward? Like, personally, I don't get why people are so worried about messing up the future. A, there's no such thing as the continuum unless you consider time as a flat circle, which in that instance, time cops will stop you.
And then
And if
obliterate
they
your
don't stop
timeline.
you, then you are a part of the timeline the way you're supposed to be, even if it gets awkward.
Yeah, definitely. All right, John, what do we got for our video game news segment to start us off? Before I go in my segment.
Well, I'm really disappointed in the Game Awards because
Oh, right. Real quick, for those of you who have not heard yet, I'm sorry to be the one to bear this tragic and very expected news, but E3 has officially ended. After 2 decades, the people in charge of it couldn't figure out how to adapt to the modern culture and make it work anymore, so they just gave up and shut it down. Nobody's surprised, of course, because ever since, even before the virus of unspecified origin, E3 was kind of on the anyway. So
I would love to host an E3. Shout out to the investors that are leaving E3. Hook it up.
we'll just call it TWB3 and
No, dude, we'll just call it the TWB Game Awards. Are you kidding me? I have wanted to talk about game writing awards for so long because, like, I started deciding to write my own game because I like video games more than any other medium of entertainment. And then I was like, I wonder if anybody else has decided to try and write a book that's also a video game. And wow, they've not only done that so many times over, they've also started writing movie books into video games. And the fact that the Game Awards highlights the most nonsensical, non-functional nonsense is just absurd. Like, if I were to host an awards, it would all be on the functional areas of a video game: narrative design, story elements, application to the mechanical design. Like, each of the functional areas are the things that I'm going to rate the best games of the year on, so that way nobody can win, because that's the hard part, is being the perfect game of the year. And then the one that gets the closest wins. I don't think this whole idea of, like, we're going to glad hand AAA games. No, we're going to rename AAA games, as in games that actually contended for the game of the year. Everybody else was just a game released this year. I mean, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, what a garbage pile of garbage, shit out by the most disgusting group of just money-hungry investors Activision could have ever worked with. Like, what happened to video games being the place where the kids hung out? Now it just seems to be like where the investors milk another profit, as if, like, they couldn't just keep doing that with OxyContin. Like, come on, guys. If you're going to invest in digital media, at least invest in good production companies, not in name brands that you keep just hoping will pump out the next best thing. Like, CEO of Activision, before you got fired in this transition, the reason you got fired is because you plummeted the stock price of Activision so bad that it got bought out. Like, all of these companies that keep getting bought out and are AAA, multi-million-dollar studios, name one multi-million-dollar production. I mean, come on. Just because we're buying doesn't mean it's actually worth that much money. We don't have any other options. We get what you guys give us, and what you guys keep giving us is trash wrapped in media, wrapped in so many loot boxes. And then you're like, why are all these kids addicted to video games? We only use the addiction practices.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
Who was it that skewered the campaign like the most effectively? I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he was just like, oh yeah, my speech at the last year's Game Awards was longer than the Call of Duty campaign.
Dude, that was the best. Oh man, dude, I watched that. I vetoed buying this Modern Warfare 3 full-on boycott because they promised me they weren't going to release it, and I was tired of not having enough money for the day one release. Like, I actually wanted to finally catch up, and I needed a year. And I watched the Act Man do his review on it today, and man,
I haven't even watched this
was
review
I
yet.
so proud of myself. Like the fact that I called it, I was just like, there's no way A, it's gonna be good. B, they lied, and C, well, you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. C, Activision, C, Blizzard, C, literally every monopoly ever that just constantly kowtows to Twitter, the Post, the Moms Against America that all want all their kids to be perfect Mormon children. Like, just make your video game. See Rockstar.
Yeah.
GTA 6 took forever. We've been bitching for years.
I'm still gonna bitch that it's not coming out until 2025.
And guess
I
what?
can't wait to mash through that beach with the Camaro. Oh yeah.
I can't wait.
There's
to
gonna be like
yeah.
people flying over the windshield. It's gonna be great. The cops are gonna come down there.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna grab out my
wait.
rocket launcher and shoot some police helicopters into the beach as well. And
sitting up on the skyscraper, shooting people on the beach, sunbathing.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to move back to Key West, have the game come out, have my buddies say, "Hey, you coming out to karaoke tonight?" And I go, "Nah, I'm busy." And of course, my busy is going to be a side quest going to do karaoke in the video game in the in-game Key West. And that's going to be, I'll finally have peaked at life at that point. No.
You finally get a second life that is your second life.
Obviously, I'm going to have a portable rig by then because I'm going to want to do the show live down there anyway.
It'll be fun doing
then,
online.
Yeah, I'll play
GTA
together. 6 while at the bar, and that'll be, you know.
Dude, the way they're making this game, it's theoretically possible that we could host this show in GTA 6 and live stream to YouTube. By the technology's there, now the game just has to get there. And Rockstar took their time.
Oh man, that
would be the bomb. I would love to mess with my character that much. I don't even care if his voice doesn't move. The fact that we could all get in the same room in GTA for once.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, it's just a matter of like figuring out how to do the focus on who's talking when and whatnot. But yeah, no, that is a way we could gather. I mean, the Generations review that'll be out eventually. I actually
time to garner fans, garner finances, and eventually find a producer that can figure out how to do that camera thing.
We can record. Actually, we could meet up in Star Trek Online, and I can record stuff, and we can do stuff that way because that's actually really easy for me to do.
Another fun way to do it because that's revolutionizing the podcast industry.
Like I said, in the upcoming Generations video that I'm going to release eventually, that's one of the things that we have planned or that I'm using is I'm actually having me do the talking, but as my game character. I'm going to see how it works. Could be a fun way to do videos from now on. Sure makes it a lot easier to record B-roll with my character just going in front of whatever backdrop I need. I mean, I could just start doing that for this show.
Yeah, in theory, then that'll mean I'll have to bring out my my Klingon that dresses like that dresses more like a pimp than a Klingon, and yeah,
that's fantastic. But that's the fun. Like to me, that is the gift of video games. That's why I love the platform. Is you get to be your silly self without paying for any of the costumes.
There's a reason Final Fantasy XIV is as popular as it is, because between that one and Star Trek Online, I mean, the custom options and character self-expression is some of the best that you can attain or use.
It's even the best compared to real life. There's no floating orbs in real life. There's no emotive animals in real life that actually do heal when you say heal.
Yeah, I can't just hop in my spaceship right now and take off. But you know where I can do that? And unfortunately, she's not available. I was hoping to get a live report from H. Marie, who's in No Man's Sky, but she unfortunately got called away on a real-life side quest. So, those of you who actually follow this channel and watch every single video, and I'm flattered, those of you who do, and I appreciate it, you probably saw that at one point I tried Starfield, and you probably saw that I was really pretending to like it. Well, I wasn't pretending. I really, really wanted to like it, and so all right. So here's how it goes, right? And this is what's going through my head that I kind of didn't really say. I think I said some of it on stream, but I didn't. After having played what little bit of it I did and feeling very uninspired to get back into it because I was not hooked by anything hardly at all except the Starfighter combat. The problem is the Starfighter combat is very derivative of the Starfighter combat from Star Wars, the Old Republic's Galactic Starfighter. No, like right down to how the mouse and key and everything function, like the controls. I should have looked at them and screenshotted them and seen, because the default controls matched up perfectly. I would not have been surprised at all, because it flew just like a Galactic Starfighter. It didn't feel any different. But I liked it for that, because it was nice to play Galactic Starfighter against, you know, AI and actually kill them instead of getting my ass handed to me like I always do when I tell myself to, oh, I'm going to get into Galactic Starfighter, play once, nah, never mind, and then come back and repeat the cycle 5 months later. No, the thing about it is, and that's really my problem with Starfield, is it sucks.
As soon as I found out how navigation around the solar system works, I was like, nah, that was a hard pass for me.
So,
I was like, that doesn't cut it in this day and age. I'm sorry, guys.
If you're somebody who got paid to work on this, I'm sorry, your leadership failed you on this project.
That just doesn't cut it. That's not good enough.
I'm sorry that you got paid to work on garbage and that you poured your heart out for crap. Because that's exactly what this game is. And I'm saying this like harshly and as hard as I am, because
they're a AAA studio and they rate the criticism.
This game should have not. There's no reason for me to have a cutscene taking off. How did that even make it to the final version of the? Okay, in No Man's Sky, which came out in 2016, even with all of its problems, I was almost willing to stick them out because I could take my ship off and fly into space. And even though it is a small loading screen, there is a bit of a hitch transition you can see if you know what to look for. It's still more immersive and more believable and still helps my game experience than watching my ship take off in a cutscene. You know what game does that? You know what game does that? You know what game does that? Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online is an MMO from 2010. Star Trek Online is still up and running and is still fun to play for its own reasons. But I can forgive that in Star Trek Online because that game was made in 2010. In Star Wars The Old Republic, again, I'm comparing an adventure game to an MMO. And the MMO is, I would still tell people to go play the MMO. Like, and the hero engine is not the greatest engine, by the way. I'm not a huge fan of it. I know how to work it and function it, but I get it. That's one of the big turnoffs for a lot of people. So, SWTOR has cutscenes for taking off and landing in your ship. SWTOR is an MMO that released in 2011. The 20th of this month, actually. So, it'll be celebrating, what is that, 12, 13 years now?
SWTOR 2.
Right. So, why is it that a brand new game in 2023, don't get me wrong, this game looks like it belongs. It's a very good, if this was like a scam or a scheme to sell a bunch of copies with no refunds, this would have absolutely done a great job of ripping a lot of people off. Because it looks a lot better than it actually should and actually plays.
As soon as they let mods in, it's back.
That's just it.
I know it is not how games should be, but like that is one thing.
No, John, that's not even the problem. The problem
anymore.
is the modders don't even want to bother.
Nobody's talking about this game at all. There was a huge, like about 2 weeks ago, I was like, you know what people aren't talking about? Starfield.
It's a real bummer because there's a lot of really fun Skyrim mods that I would not mind using in this.
And there were
teams. That's a lot of it. Is like there is so much room to mod your own sandbox into this, and I think that's really what the modders are just waiting for, is for the chance to get back into it, because there's actually a huge Patreon community in the modding community. So, but even then, like Bethesda's obliterating good faith with that by putting everybody's mods behind their creation window in Skyrim just recently. Like, it's the most beggy thing you can do. Like, if your product is good, marketing should be, hey, you guys remember how good it was last time?
Here's more.
And that's what GTA 6 is literally doing. They have not hyped anything. They confirmed production when they were well into production. They confirmed and released this trailer half a day early because YouTube's system is not secure.
Honestly, I don't care how long it takes. Just finish the game. Finish it.
Yeah, exactly. Look at games like No Man's Sky, for example, because here's the other thing too. Here's the other thing. Okay, you want to know what really set me off? Okay, and why this comparison is even more valid? Okay, No Man's Sky is about 15-20 gigs. Starfield is like 125 or some shit. 125 gigabyte game. So I just downloaded a bunch of stupid fancy ass shaders and a non-functioning game. That's a ripoff. That is something that I would not only demand a refund for, I would want you to pay me for subjecting me to it. Because this is like, how did this happen in 2023? Did we not see the colossal mistakes? How did the development team, let me finish please. How did the development team 2 years ago not see the problems that happened with Halo Infinite and not maybe think, I think we may need to keep this one and maybe go back and do some more mechanic work and maybe make some features that...
It's not the development team. It's not the engine. It is 100% the executives.
They're the ones who decided.
They're the same best friends at Activision that wrote this new Call of Duty. They're the same best friends at Blizzard that have just butchered all of Blizzard's IPs. Like, it's the same guys at EA. I mean, in some instances, literally. Like, it's the echo chamber of the really rich saying they know what's best and then never taking the time to test that hypothesis in the real world.
These are the
until they bomb, and then they blame everybody for hating their failure. Like, they're the worst stand-up comedians of all time because they only deliver specials and never practice before the special.
These are the people who are easily won over by pretty visuals. They see, oh, it looks so advanced on the next-gen console.
Because most of them are so old, they don't even know what made a good game good. They just remember Pong making them money.
Yep.
I don't get why you're hiring people that don't love the product to maintain and manage the product. Instead, you're hiring people that love maintaining and managing a portfolio of products to manage a product that only exists on the whims of the fans. See every series that is dead in the water.
Yeah.
Like, video games are the most vicious market because while you can make all of your money on the first try, you can lose it on the second. And the only people that don't are people like Activision, who have investors that are so stupid and old that they have no idea why Activision worked in the first place. And Activision doesn't even know anymore. And I know that because I worked for them once.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, you want to talk about games, like, okay, I was raised on the Nintendo philosophy of what the game looks like is secondary to the quality of the game, right? How much fun did we have playing Valheim? And that's like a 1.5 gig install, maybe, right?
That is, that is a perfect example of purposefully giving yourself a limitation, because I believe it's what, 16-bit platform?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
like it's
giving yourself that kind of a limitation, and
it looks
oh my
so
gosh,
good.
It looks so pretty. It's amazing.
It's
like
so
what
good.
Look like, but yeah, so where again, that just pisses me off even more about Starfield. Where 1 gig Valheim looks amazing. 126 gigs, that game kind of looks amazing, but I'm in the middle of swapping hardware.
It's got some great shots, but like the overall presentation is terrible.
Well, to me, my issue was this, and I've let you guys go on for a little bit, so let me get this in. Look, the problems that Starfield has is it was an absolutely great concept, And it absolutely has an interesting meta commentary when you hit endgame. The problem it has is they had a great concept and a great idea for endgame, but not how to get there. And I think what they really relied on was going, the mod community will back us up and fill in and give a wider berth of stuff for the character to do. That's not how you build a game. You cannot rely on other people to finish your game.
Not only that,
Unless
they're
you tell
already
them
giving
that's what you're giving them, and you call it a sandbox rather than an open world storyline RPG. Like, if you call it an RPG sandbox, then we expect
if
this.
they called it an open world modder's paradise, I'd probably be a little more generous.
Well,
right?
and have the modding option available at release where you pay a certain selection from your plethora of mod communities that love modding. You give them early access to mod 10 or 15 mods before day one release. Yeah. It's very easy marketing and planning that literally anybody who actually cares about games could tell you. But because you have people that only care about the efficiency of production and the line in which that production is produced year over year, you get Activision, you get Call of Duty, you get manufactured bullshit. And it's not like this. I'm not one to care about fair, except for in the fact that the only reason the game industry exists is because all of us tell our parents, regardless of what they say, we still want to keep playing video games. Can you buy it for us this time too? And those are the people you're hurting the most when you prove their parents right by making this trash. You idiot, you arrogant.
So let's now we've got our anger, frustrations out. Now it's time for me to reprieve. Unless Corian, if you have any more thoughts beyond that, but I mean that was a pretty solid point.
I think that's the primary issue. Is I think that's where Starfield, fell down. I think there is a solid game design argument to be made here, right? Like, if they gave me the tools of like Factorio to build my base, if they gave me a shipbuilder that doesn't make me spend an entire game session just trying to get certain pieces positioned right, and if they gave me I guess I want to say, a weapon modding system that didn't make me feel like I had to be a research scientist before being a gun runner, there's actually some potential there. I think it would be cool if, as an example, let's say you're smuggling into a planet. Well, there's now a corruption meter that happens with that planet. And slowly, by you bringing in a whole bunch of drugs, you turn, drug dens start showing up on the planet. Like, stuff like that would be cool. But it's like they only got halfway. And that's the problem.
No.
And that's why people are like so mad at GTA 6, but also why GTA 6 is GTA 6. Like, Rockstar said, we're going to give you the game we want to give you, hold your horses, and we're waiting, not very patiently, but waiting. And they're like, we don't care how patient and unruly you get. We're used to Rockstars hosting shows where everybody is unruly because they're happy. So we'll just make you wait till we're ready. And that's always how it should have been. And that's what I thought Activision was really doing when they said that they were going to postpone the Modern Warfare 3 release for another year. And that's the answer. I mean, there is no other answer other than the ones that are working and the ones that are continually being sold. Like, why are you buying the entire studio, aside from the fact that it has a lot of IP? I understand that. But at the same time, like, make sure you fire all of the bureaucrats and keep all the devs. Because the devs just want to develop. Everybody else is who they are. But if you keep the devs, keep the writers, keep the actual worker bees, and you fire the queen, you'll be doing everybody a favor. Every time.
Yeah, and that's just and then all right. So now it's time to shift gears. Of course, we've got our frustrations vented out, which of course that's assuming anybody actually wants to hear legit criticism. Because here's the thing: I've also noticed this interesting trend in modern gaming that I think is also proving for the better. Is let's look at Halo Infinite, and surprise, spoiler alert: I happen to just have been a paid campaign dev tester for that game. So it was, or excuse me, QA tester. So, I did think that the game was worth, I think it's worth at least, $20-$30 for the campaign. That's why the multiplayer's free, which is awesome. But when that game released, I even knew going into it that it wasn't going to be spectacular. And I wanted it to be, but it's just Halo had some good mechanics to start, but the execution, especially with the multiplayer, was just not there. And of course, we all know how much of a colossal disaster it was. Well, look at where 343 is now. Granted, it's after about 3 regime changes, but now Halo, I freaking love this game, without a doubt. I Firefight, this is peak Firefight. I loved Firefight and ODST. I love ODST still. It's my favorite Halo story still. But Infinite is just getting better with each update, so that course corrected. I don't have personal experience, but I have heard Cyberpunk 2077, same thing. Over time,
Yeah, my buddy is
phenomenal,
raving about it.
So while Starfield is yet another AAA embarrassment on top of a slew of AAA embarrassments that nobody can seem to pay attention and learn from each other's mistakes, while they're still in the middle of development, that doesn't mean that we can't move on from this. That doesn't mean that one day, we may stream Starfield again and might actually have it be a fun, enjoyable game. There's going to have to be some overhaul because I'm not interested in a super bloated fetch quest. And that's just it, and that's really, it shows between No Man's Sky and Valheim, we're seeing, games that are able to do so much with less.
Project Zomboid is insane. And it's, once again, it's just like, we don't need crazy graphics. We need good games.
We need good games first. We need functional games first. We need games that people enjoy playing. And, watching a cutscene of my generic spaceship taking on and off. And I heard that the shipbuilder was really good, but I didn't get to that far. And I'm not going to.
If I'm being honest, I would love if these AAA studios just kept buying indie IP and then remastering it. That's the best they're good at. Like, they're really good at hiring a team of developers to produce hours of grass that goes into games nobody wants to play. So why not just fix the games people do want to play and make them prettier? That's a thought. That's also a great way to make extra money off of other people's work, like you're already doing.
Or, I guess the other piece I would say is, look, take a page from some of the most successful game producers out there. Like, take a look at what Nintendo does. Nintendo will release a game under 3 conditions. 1, it has to be transformative to whatever the IP is. 2, it actually has to be fun. And 3, they release it when it's done, not before.
The glory days of when Nintendo was releasing Link to the Past, when a game would come out and it was a masterpiece. Mm-hmm. Remember that? What a blessing.
Hey man, I still consider Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom to be masterpieces.
Yeah.
I haven't played through them.
Well, fine. I haven't beat Tears of the Kingdom yet, but I technically could. But yeah, they're amazing. And those are the rules. Like, what is a game if not fun? That's my biggest beef with this, is you're not even meeting the minimum qualification of a game. Not a video, a game. You got a lot of video, less game, and that's a problem. Especially it's the whole idea of not caring about your product. Like, who are you? You're a person, right? Do you not care about the things that you take ownership of? You're taking ownership of these studios. As CEOs, you're claiming to be the chief executive officer, meaning you take ownership of every single thing that comes in and out of your company. And the product is the worst pile of dog shit this year. Like, let's forget about all the sexual harassment. Your games are worse than that.
I don't see the comparison. So,
Well, I mean, some of these
If you take
studios behave
ownership
like
of
garbage.
everything, and you can't even run a clean house, and your dirty house is producing this.
Yeah.
Why are you in charge? Why, like, people say they do things for shareholder help, but like, where are the shareholders calling out the horrible leaders? And why aren't the shareholders being blamed? Why are the devs and the writers being attacked? They're paid the least. The shareholders make the most.
oh yeah,
They're supposed to be the
Starfield
most
isn't even a writing
earned.
issue. It's entirely an execution, and it's a leadership failure. And it's I don't know what happened or what specifically went on to get to this point, but that's just it. There were some, like, when I got into my ship and it did a cutscene of me taking off, I thought at first, okay, maybe this is just a cinematic thing to get the intro. Nope, we're doing it again. Nope, okay. Oh, and an unskippable cutscene to get in and out of the chair to fly the ship. This is
Like, do games have directors or somebody in the
Yes.
position of a
They have a
director?
ton of that stuff.
Yes.
But also, that guy is usually
Is Todd Howard the director of Starfield?
no, he's the lead
He's
game designer.
lead game designer.
And
No.
I watched this 8-hour analysis on YouTube on Starfield this weekend, and that's why I'm here with you, like, just because I've been playing. I'm level 3 going into level 4 Star Guardian, and yeah, no, I lost sway at like halfway through level 2, and I just kept coming back because I want the mods. I like the mods. I don't necessarily like care for the game.
So it's like getting Quentin Tarantino to write you a movie and then getting Ed Wood to direct it.
Or Huey Boll.
Like it's and dude, the amount of not even inspirations, just straight hacks. Like, I was writing in our Discord, I was like, is anybody else kind of getting like major, like, stealing the Firefly story? Yeah, there's 100% evidence of it. I watched an 8-hour analysis. This guy went into
Yeah.
side quests, all of them, like a long analysis, and it's brutal the amount of plagiarism that was added into this. Like, you can call Todd Howard the lead game designer, but he didn't design anything. He just puzzle pieced an amalgamation of writings into Fallout 4 plus.
It's staggering how stupid they think their audience is.
Yeah,
And
see,
not
and
only
this is
stupid,
this
but,
is
like,
it. You guys need
they're
to
the ones
understand.
with but they're the ones with the fans that like write 8-hour analysis. Like, I've watched multiple 4-hour, 5-hour analyses of Fallout by different podcasters who just absolutely adore the writing. It's the whole reason I love game writing.
There's so many long form
the whole reason-
content guys that are doing.
It's the source of my passion is this stuff, because like Starfield is the exact proof of writing coattails of actual legends. Like, good God, does nobody pay attention to what they're doing? Especially at the top. Like, once you make $1 million, it just seems that you don't think that anybody works for you anymore. You just automatically assume you're God's gift to Earth,
And I think
you
that's part of
start
the, and I
doing-
think that's the big breakdown. Like you said, it's between the executives who are the business people who only see the numbers and are like, well, why isn't the game out? Why isn't the bestest game ever? Come on, what's the game? And it's like, you're just trying to drive this, like, you can, whip the miners harder, and they'll mine faster,
and
and that
because
doesn't
you
work.
think it's mining. You're treating this elaborate.
They're treating game
nuanced
design too
blend.
industrial.
Well, dude, no, they're treating something that is an elaborate nuance of blend of science, math, English, every other language translated to every other
okay,
language.
and that's not including the mental
over a binary code that's
Yeah.
being updated at a rapid clip that's never
Hold
been
on,
seen
John.
before
You're
in
also
any other
forgetting.
industry.
You're also forgetting a very key component, though. You're also forgetting the mental and emotional control and fortitude to be able to sit there and go through some of those mind-numbingly stupid tasks. Like, it's
Well, dude, and that's what I'm getting to. It's like before you even get to the test, this is just the coding. Like the amount of science that is applied to coding that has then created better coding that has gotten us what we've gotten today. Unreal 5 doesn't exist without these dorks.
Mhm.
That's how important devs are. CEOs did not create Unreal 5.
Correct.
Devs created Unreal 5, and a lot of it, almost all modern day coding, is done open source because that's the coder's code. And these CEOs are constantly trying to treat this like it's the new steel industry and they're just buying real estate. Like, how dumb and how uneducated do you have to believe to just be arrogant enough to think that you can act at this level?
Yeah.
But then to
We'll just
not
make 'em work
learn
more hours
from
and
all
not
of your
pay them for it.
continuous failures. Like that's the proof that it's arrogance and naivete.
Yeah.
Because these people have not adapted one iota, while the indie companies and the ones that actually, are game developers run by game developers like the people CD
companies
Projekt
that
Red.
actually, take mental health seriously.
Yeah, and like CD Projekt Red, that was like, guys, we are actually legitimately sorry. We're not going to charge you another dime until we fix everything and then make you a new storyline to go on top of it, and we'll charge you $50. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, CD Projekt Red is one of those companies that's still small enough to give a damn.
but it's not about small. It's about literally knowing who you work for. You work for your target audience if you're a producer. And these CEOs know that. They just don't realize that they're producers.
Yep.
of
Now, let's go
highly
ahead and
complex products.
let's go ahead and, of course, end on a positive note and talk about one of the greatest movies ever made, and that is this year's Super Mario Brothers movie. I will come right out and say it, solid 7. Even though I do have some issues with it that I don't want to discuss, of course, some nitpicks, problems I have, but overall, solid 7. I regret not seeing this one in the movie theater. I really wish I had, because it's clearly one of those theater experiences that I have deprived myself of, and hopefully somebody with a banging home theater in the near future can at least help me experience that. Dolby Atmos experience, that would be amazing.
Shout out to Nintendo realizing that you can actually apply the same metrics of your video games to your movies,
right,
if you pay the right studio. And shout out to Illumination for proving them right. I love Mario so much that my son wanted to do the Sonic movie every single morning because his iPad was dead, and and I did. I let him cry for like 2 days about it. 2 mornings in a row. I was like, I'm not doing it. I don't like that movie. It's fun once. It's fun twice. It's fun for kids. It's adorable. But no, Mario, my son started doing this literally like Monday before you announced that we were doing this episode, like Monday of last week. And it's the first time he's actually shown interest in any movies. And yeah, like you said, solid 7s. Like, it's annoying the 5th time through, but annoying. And
it's good. It's really good. I was surprised. I was expecting it to be like pretty okay, but no, it was genuinely enjoyable.
Yeah, and I mean,
The visuals
credit
are
to
great.
the voice actors who are actually playing the characters, because they managed
Chris
to
Pratt and
vocally
Charlie Day.
emote enough to draw me in.
Yep. Yeah, Chris.
And Bowser. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So first of all, the soundtrack was
spectacular.
Oh my god, it was almost just a little too awesome out of the gate, and even it was like I was like, guys, like you're like they basically played the greatest hits of the era that when Nintendo started in which first Mario game was released in 1985 all the way up through the 2000s or early 2000s, and like every single song they picked was perfect.
The remixes,
for the moment,
the
yeah.
reworks of all those, you'll hear those melodies. You're like, oh, the creative arrangements are just. Oh.
Yeah, this is a proper,
Mixed with rock and roll.
nostalgia. It's a lot like No Way Home in that it properly takes and utilizes nostalgia to just tell a really good, really great story about not giving up. Mm-hmm.
They played AC/DC.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. I mean,
yeah, they did.
There was a couple of moments. So the low points for me, though.
My son, I do the guitar kick every time we listen to AC/DC, so he does it too now, and it's my favorite thing. So like when we heard it, we both were just jazzed.
Yes,
that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's everything about this film. Now, of course, the part that kind of got me a little bit was all right. So I always growing up like Bowser was like one of the scariest things to possibly exist. Like, and I'm like talking like I first met him in like 2D pixel, platformer form before we got to
Game Boy Advance while driving to Nampa.
But before we got to N64 3D Bowser, which was even scarier, and of course, I've always seen this guy as like a really scary monster who in this universe is an incel now. Which
yeah, he's a simp.
Oh, all right.
That opening sequence was cool though, eh?
But at the same time, he was still Bowser.
Well, the thing is though, too, is this doesn't.
Were his punches weaker or were his conquests less?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know why he bothered with an army.
Vocally a simp.
Like the opening scene, he neutralizes these guys and destroys their castle in like one swoop of his own doing. His guys don't do anything except it's all show. It's like, bro, if you could just take this out, you could have spent money on other things, but whatever.
Well, no, that's the joke.
I know.
Like, but also to the point of like, Mario's always had a childish element to it, and how else to explain this super dark your nightmare while simultaneously keeping the childishness?
Oh, the wizard was awesome.
Make the scariest guy so easily,
but only
easily
for
seduced.
Peaches, nobody else in
That's
the whole
true.
wide world. And Peach, why is she so tough? Because she grew up with the weakest people ever. She has to be.
Yeah, no, the backstory and the lore for this universe, it makes sense. It worked. It was a good story to tell. We didn't have girl boss Peach. We had team player Peach, which was nice because
it's Peach from Mario 2. She's there with everybody else and she kicks ass, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and to me, it really felt like Teen Boss Peach. Like she was the strongest of her group, but the Toads are not that tough.
Yeah.
So it's a small comparison, but then also like as soon as Mario showed up, she was like, I need this guy to be better than me, and I'm good, so I'm gonna make him better than me, and he's gonna be, and he has to be, and I'm gonna bet on him and support him because he has to be. And what did she do? All of that. And was it hard for her? Yeah, first dude she's ever met.
Yeah.
Like to me, I felt like a lot of this. You do have to kind of explain it because they just blew through it, but it also technically works, and I'm proud of them.
Yeah, no, and like I said, the other issue I had was like, oh, she turns into Elsa to help save the day and stuff. I thought I was like, that's
deep lore cut, dude. That's the Mario.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's the 2D, the 2.5D Mario. I've been playing it with Daisha.
Paper Mario?
No, there's a new one. It's like a 3D Mario. So it's 3D technically, but in the 2D
The
rules.
RPG?
No. It's a legit regular Mario. Super Mario World. just like the Game Boy, but it's on Switch. And Daisha and I have been playing it for years. I suck at it. She's awesome, but there's this power. Like very few are Peach exclusives, but then one of them is a new ice power that you get in the
ice
first
flower.
dungeon. It's an ice fire, 100% lore accurate, and it comes from the blue fire flame.
Yeah, it works. I mean, look,
I'm still
was
making
the
my
Elsa
jokes.
reference
She
obvious?
powered
Yeah.
up to Elsa. Like, come on, that's what happened.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
Brown and blue
100%.
dress
They
and
should have
everything.
probably gone in a different direction, but that's the way they went.
That's what that was. That was literally. I'm surprised we didn't actually see that in the trailer. Like that would have been. If I was the marketing team for this, I'd been like, wait, she gets frozen powers. Guys, this needs to be in the trailer. We need to see this. No, you don't understand. We're gonna. All right, fine, we'll leave it out. But that would have been my push. I've been like, no, you don't understand. A lot of kids, they see that they might think Elsa, but who cares? We're poaching viewers from Disney. That's using their own product against them. That's the point.
That's it.
So yeah, I would have put Frozen Princess Peach like front and center and did that. But the movie is entirely, it's one of the better family friendly films. I didn't feel there was any part that was like cringy or, oh, this is obviously a kid's movie. It's not. It is very much made for the parents, the Gen X and millennial parents.
There's so many little jokes. Like, I don't know if they're even like jokes. It's just little details, like the little hop and you have a Mario Kart sequence. There's the little hop in the power slide. There's the shortcuts, some Rainbow
That
Road.
to me,
all the noises.
There's little things happening
all
in the
of
background.
that is 100% for me, the dad of the kid I'm taking to that.
Right. You'll see there's this
Mario.
one, like, there's the little green shell gets caught in the little thing, and the guy has to stop it just for a little quick sec. Just so many things. It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Dude, the amount of times that happened in the Mario cutscenes, like in the games, those were always the jokes. Like there was no words in those games, except for what was written text dialogue. So for like them to also incorporate that into this movie, like the kids may laugh at it depending on their age range. But like me personally, as a dad, I'm like, that's why I think that game's fun. I forgot that's why I laugh at that. And this is actually a good adaptation.
And like, I will say this too. Like, look, I am all for movies that, I have to sit down and take serious and dig deeper into. But I'm also for movies that I can take my daughter to and not have to worry about explaining complex issues to her later on.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly, and that's what this movie. It's another great, like I said, family-friendly film that I'm probably gonna watch several more times throughout my lifetime. I mean, it's just one of those that didn't feel slow or pacing, or I guess in John's opinion, the Sonic movie wasn't that great for him, which I have no opinion, of course.
So here's the difference between Sonic and Mario. The biggest difference, that stuff. Mario really, really, really tried to make all of that one universe. Like the amount of games and the amount of depth, like there's an Olympics game. They could have, they can now attempt to add that into the future because they opened the room for the absurdity by accepting it. They didn't follow the rules of reality. They didn't go to try to follow physics. And that's like what Sonic did. Sonic really tried to do the Bugs Bunny in America, the Looney Tunes in reality, and
the Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, and it's fun for that. This Mario was like, no, we're gonna just be Mario.
Well, it's not just being Mario. It's the same thing as No Way Home. There's a lot of good, wholesome value to this film, not just the way it's portrayed, but the message of the movie is pretty straightforward and repeated throughout. Don't give up.
That's what I mean, though. That's Mario.
Right.
Always been Mario. You can
so I
fail
was thinking,
over and over and over, lose all of your lives.
Right. So I was
but when you win, it's just as satisfactory as when the other guy who didn't lose a single life wins.
Right. So when he gets ready to do the course the first time, and I'm like, oh, Peach knows how to do it all the time. I'm like, wait a minute, how many times did I die throughout my Mario experience before I actually beat the. Oh, and yeah, no, that was brilliant.
But that's what I mean. That's the part that Sonic didn't have. That's the part where Mario wasn't trying to just be real reality, but it was also trying to make Mario the original Mario. Like
Right.
literally, the writers and Nintendo asked for this. This is like what Corion was saying earlier about Nintendo's policy on their games. Is they brought this to the film, and I watched a lot of people like talk about it, so I do know a little bit of inside baseball. But like, they legitimately wanted everything. They wanted Mario. Everything Mario's ever been in, to some extent or another, brought here, without also bringing in everything else, because Illumination doesn't have all that IP right now, or Nintendo isn't ready for that. But like, a lot of stuff Corion's also brought up in the past, where Nintendo America versus Nintendo Japan, and trying to convince Nintendo Japan that there's an American studio that can respect and do this correctly. There wasn't. Illumination is actually really new. If you guys remember, that's all the Minions. Like, and again, my boy likes watching those ones, and they're actually funny too, in the same essence. Like, the guys at Illumination fixed a lot of the same things that the guys at Super Mario wanted. And that's what they bought. And that's the thing that I think that like Super Mario is so awesome for, and Nintendo is so awesome for.
And the thing is, after this movie, I'm wanting more. Like, if this is the beginning of the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, if we're gonna get a Super Smash Brothers Avengers movie coming, great, bring it on. Let's get it, because if it's gonna stay this quality or just improve off of this quality, fine. Let's do 40 movies in this universe and see how far it goes.
Bro, make a Nintendo Pixar. You guys clearly.
Well, guys, we could build to a remake of Captain N, the Game Master.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
Oh man, a late 80s, early 90s cartoon that focused on a kid being pulled into the gameverse and having to save all the different video game worlds from a cabal of bad guys.
Isn't that just Kingdom Hearts?
Kind of, but without Disney.
I like that last part.
To me, I think that's like, it's Super Smash, man. That to me is the big, like, they have their Avengers literally set up.
I know.
To no end. Are you kidding me?
We already had Donkey Kong and Mario work together, so like we've already crossed two universes.
Like they've already announced that death is video game death. You respawn. No lives.
Yep.
And fine, because it is for the kids. But also, like, as the dad, I'm so stoked. Like, I'm so glad my kid's growing up with these movies rather than like what the last generation had. They had the Minions, and that was annoying, dude. That just encouraged babble. Are you kidding me?
Yep, exactly.
This Super Mario, dude. My son's running around going like doing the Mario voices, just like I did, playing the video games. Like,
shout out once more again to Polypixel, Daniel Larson, Nemesis of Eden, Lord Shrinen, and everybody else, of course, tuning in, watching in the background, watching on the replay. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Corion, you are ascending into the next round. You have made it past round 2 of voting on the Tier Choice Awards. Okay, guys, this is now do or die. Like, every single day, we really, need people to rally and get behind this, to try and vote at least once a day if you can, because this is, it's only the top 10, which I think is basically probably the crew that's going to Vegas. I'm guessing that's when the...
So here's how it works. This round, there are currently 20 people still in the category. They're going to cut that in half, so it's going to be the top 10. And then the last round will determine who is actually going to Vegas and who has the most votes. They won't tell us who in round 4 is actually going to Vegas. That'll be revealed in April at the awards. Or sorry, who's actually got the award. But the top 5 will be let know, yep, you're going to Vegas. So we are getting there. We are close now.
So
and
yes, please, all the effort that you guys make, if you do love the Writer Brothers, like, this can also help this channel too. mainly because Corione is a co-panelist.
All
so.
the effort you guys put into the GTA 6
Yes.
trailer, please vote that many times for Corione.
Yeah, you guys can vote once a day.
Just like you did
go
for
in,
GTA 6.
do the vote, and then go into your email and confirm the vote, and you're golden. I've put a link into the chat. Guys, I would super appreciate the votes. We have been the little channel that could here.
Yep.
And, I want to see how far we can go. Like, I'm going to pull a Haley Joe Osmond and Real Steel and be like, hey, man, let's give some of the smallest channels the biggest shot. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's definitely important for us and why we believe in it and why we definitely want to push for it. Next week will be our last broadcast of the year. We are going to be doing our Godzilla Christmas now. So please join us for Godzilla -1, Christmas Vacation, and Violent Night. We're actually gonna watch that one this year. We tried to do last year, but it just didn't work out. So other than that, please consider joining me and Nemesis of Eden on Casual Free for All Friday. We're going to be discussing a hot button issue of hero worship in society, whether it's politics, whether it's pop culture, whether it's just anything. It should be an interesting discussion, as well as whatever you, the audience, want to bring to the table and discuss. Other than that, any last final words, anybody? Got a little bit ahead of myself.
Just like all of you did for GTA 6, do for Corione. 140 million votes in 2 days. Let's go.
Wow.
Yeah,
I want those accounts made. I want those emails verified. All the votes.
Let's bring the
Corione.
enthusiasm.
The more you vote for Corione, the more you vote for TWB to do a live broadcast. Remember that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always do live broadcasts for Tuesday show, except when we don't. And
In-person live broadcast together as a family.
Yes, exactly. If you want to see the Ryder Brothers, if you want to have the opportunity to get the Ryder Brothers not only together in one city, but also the opportunity to maybe meet us in person and still get on this train while we're small, this is your chance.
Yeah, I think we could actually do that, guys. I will propose this, that one of the days we are in Vegas, for at least a few hours, we'll try to take over, say, like a restaurant.
I'm PD over the Ryder Brothers. We'll see you next week.
Sure.
This has been a presentation of the Ryder Brothers Tuesday Night Live Show. The Ryder Brothers, restoring respect into discourse.